Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of We Need to Talk. Special shout out to everybody who's listening. Hopefully, you guys are in a great mood space, a great space of positive expectation. Hopefully, you guys are elated that the weekend is here and getting a chance to get some much needed rest, get out and enjoy the weather. Um, Sending you good energy, sending comforting energy to anybody who's going through a stressful time right now, sending you positivity and blessings and happiness as well. Tonight is episode 430, and I wanted to talk about a subject that's near and dear to my heart personally, and that is 90s R&B. Tonight I want to discuss why 90s R&B still resonates today, still is impactful today, still is powerful in the culture today, and affects us in a certain type of way in comparison to all the other eras. And I narrowed it down to three major points, three major things that I observed, and these are the strengths, the top strengths of, or top factors that explain why 90s R&B for me is something that is still highly impactful to this day. To all of us who are long-standing 90s R&B fans, and even beyond that, even beyond fan, like I'm somebody that never stopped listening to it, since the era, since growing up, since being a kid in the era, and you know, listening to it when I didn't have control over what was played, and then all the way up until to this day is something that is heavily put into heavy rotation. Um, it's played, it's listened to, and I utilize it for a lot of different ways, or a lot of different personal benefits. And I think that you know today for me, I wanted to kind of get into that. So the first thing, or the first factor we have to take into consideration, is history, right? So the 90s as a particular decade was robust with a lot of different events, not only just nationally but globally as well. And I would venture to say that in every decade or every era, the world events have an effect on the art that comes from that era. You can pick any era, any piece of world history, or any circumstances that happen either globally or domestically, and take a look at the art that is created. Take a look at the art that the people develop, and you will see a correlation. You'll be able to build a correlation between the two, because we are human, and we art is a channel through which a lot of artists channel their particular pains, concerns, anxieties, and personal feelings. And so, the 90s is no different. But let's look at some of the things that have happened. If we're looking at the 90s, there was the World Trade Center bombing. There was Oklahoma City bombing. So sort of domestic terrorism. There was wars. There was the Gulf War. Even globally, there was genocide in Rwanda. There was transitions as far as You think of Nelson Mandela and him being released, and everything that signified. There was natural disasters. It was Hurricane Andrew and other, you know natural disastrous events that occurred. Think of Rodney King, that's the 90s. You think of OJ Simpson trial, that's the 90s, right? You start kind of putting some things together, when you think of just everything that was going on in Iraq at the time, and between Iraq and Kuwait, and the bombings, the wars, uh these are these are striking events. These are striking events. And although I was a kid, and just doing personal research, just back on that era, and knowing what happened around, let's say, an event like 9/11, certain events, just historically, there's a general social response that is very unifying to a degree. Not only just with art being a major factor, as far as people channeling their pain, channeling their anxiety about what was going to happen next. If we're thinking about Oklahoma City bombing and World Trade Center bombing, these are huge events for the 90's. I don't think, and I could stand corrected, but I don't believe that prior to, there was any recognizable domestic terrorism situation since, I would say, Tulsa, Oklahoma. So, um, for people in the 90's looking at that, that's a very anxiety provoking situation. Especially for, let's say, if somebody had family members who worked in the World Trade Center, or uh worked in New York and things like that. Just if you want any sort of comparative analysis, just think about what happened with the World Trade Center in 9/11. Like, you know what I'm saying, and how that was a situation that was very anxiety provoking, but yet brought a lot of people together. So let's think about a lot of the 90's music, right? It was a channel for a lot of pain. If we think about artists like Mary J. Blige and certain artists who were able to get deep emotions out and get their pains out, right? But also, it was a coming together type of vibe. If you think of the music, it was a lot of, the DJ this, and music for the barbecue. It was, everybody was focusing on, coming together, bringing each other together, hanging out, being around family, being connected, because that's what you do when you're afraid. When there's a lot of things happening, as far as, yeah, I'm sure people who had family members at the time who were going off to the war, were involved with the war. There's anxiety around that. There's concern around that, right? Are they going to come home after this? What is this? What is this about? You know? And so with that, the people said, hey, let's focus on uplifting and bringing the vibes up, get everybody together, get everybody connected. And that would explain why the music was colored, to a degree, was colored with a lot of positivity and a lot of togetherness. And you saw a lot of artists collaborate with each other as well. In the 90's, you'll remember a lot of remixes and a lot of, different R&B artists connecting together, touring together, creating a united front. I don't remember, and I don't remember any beefs or anything like that, at least in front of the camera. So, it carried a certain vibe. And I think that vibe, to this day, is one that still resonates. If we're talking about anxiety, fear, if we're talking about a lot of different things happening globally, if we're talking about a lot of deaths and conflicts and scary times, right? That vibe is useful. That coming together vibe is needed. That let's get together is needed, especially in an era of social distancing. If when there's specific barriers that may keep you from going to hang out with grandma, or keep the family from doing cookouts, or keep the family from having gatherings, right? It's a natural part of the routine for social beings. And now we're in an era where a lot of that has been halted, stopped, postponed. And on top of that, there's a lot of uncertainty. So that vibe still resonates to this day, because that is a parallel. That's a direct parallel with everything that's happening right now. So that's one of the keys that I noticed, as far as why that era still resonates to this day. That SWV and Escape Versus was powerful for me personally, and I know for a lot of other people as well. Uh, which brings me to the next point. The second reason why I feel like it still resonates to this day is the memories. Just pure nostalgia, right? I know for me, it brings me back to childhood. It brings me back to a level of freedom and the ability to be careless. So unlimited possibilities, right? When you're a child, there's not much you really got to worry about. You got to keep the grades up, but other than that, the gravity of the society, the gravity of the world around you, the concerns that adults have, you don't really have to have that. You can kind of just be free. And I think for a lot of people, they miss that freedom. I think for a lot of people, the memories associated with that era and interconnected with that era, whenever you hear that music, it triggers you to a certain place, time, where you can almost envision what was happening like it was yesterday. And for the most part, it's a lot. I don't know anybody who in the 90's could really say like they were having a really terrible time. Like, I think most people had a great time. So the music was also reflective of a lot of people's actual memories. So, the themes and hey, Mr. DJs, and all of that kind of stuff, like just having that type of vibe. And even somebody like Mary J, who was singing a lot about heartbreak, a lot about pain. Like, she had some bangers that were up tempo hits that were where make you just want to go dance somewhere. um and so you know the memories, the ability to time travel, and those, for those who know me well, it's a deep interconnected uh part of my reminiscence of my just times with my mom, growing up and things like that. Since she's passed, and it's something that I use to energize me. I use to travel back to those memories, those times that I had with her, because in my life personally, that's the only full era that I have with my mom. um but I was born in the 80's, so like mid 80's, so that wasn't that wasn't a full era, and she passed in 2005. So there was no that's the only full decade that I have with my mom, period. On being on this earth. So, that's another reason why, I'm so deeply ingrained with the music, because it all, every song takes me somewhere else to it, takes me with a straight trajectory to a different memory, a different time, a different uh energy, laughing, joking, what I'm saying? And just even just the regular routines that, you know, um I would do anything to replay and to capture again, in real life. So the memories of it and what they represent with our time now in comparison are definitely a force to be reckoned with when it comes to 90s R&B, hands down. And I'll say number three is the lyrical content. If don't nobody say, if the love don't feel like 70s disco, I don't want it. Like, nobody says that. This is the 90s R&B has even translated into a full type of love that people are looking for in their lives right now. So it's transcended musically, and even going on to, encapsulate just, or be a representative of like how people would like to exist with their mate. What type of lifestyle they would want to have, what type of love they would want to have, by virtue of the lyrical content alone. Like, love was, it was some freaky stuff too, but that's part of the relationship as well. You don't want it. You don't want no boring type of love, do you? Like, I think, it was a perfect blend of prioritizing the love, the connection, the dating, the courtship, but also, the freaked out songs, to where, like, let's not get it messed up. It still has to be a great sexual experience, but love making, it being something that, comes with the love, not in place of. And I think that is a key reason why, it still is sought after to this day. It still is put on a pedestal to this day, because the variance, but also the love, man. The era was focused on creating the love, making the love, talking about the love, getting back to the love, and showing it, expressing it. You know what I'm saying? Male and female R&B artists weren't afraid to express their love for somebody. And, can we talk? Like, not pulling up on somebody and going full on aggressive with it, but, saying, hey, like, I got something to say. I want to talk to you. Like, can we talk? Like, that type of energy. Um, but also, freaking you, knocking the boots, all that type of, that's what we gonna eventually get over there too. But, I think that, it was really an amazing era. And obviously I was too young to be on a freak mentality back then, but, you know that's why, another reason why it translates now, because I can appreciate it as an adult, looking and listening to what they were saying and appreciating it, being at an age where I can appreciate it, and be looking for, or um you know in a position to desire to manifest that same thing, the same thing they were describing, because all of that is beautiful in conjunction, and I think it all works. So, just wanted to show some 90s R&B appreciation tonight, man. Like, and I listen to it every day, so this could have happened at any point. But, I think today it particularly hit a zone, just because, I was listening to it a lot, and just realizing the power of it, really realizing its effect, on me. And I know that that effect is happening to all of you who are, fans of the era, and continue to be long after the era is gone. So, shout out to you guys, man. Keep my Pandora is right on point. I don't gotta skip nothing. I got it trained and complete. You know what I'm saying? And the interesting part about the 90s too, there's still gems to find. I'm still discovering songs from the 90s that I never heard before, because there was a lot of acts, there was a lot of artists that came out, there was some artists that pretty much remained in that era, maybe one album, two albums, and then never transcended into the 2000s. So, there's still more music to get to. So, um and also too, happy third birthday to my single week. I record my music when I make songs to instrumentals that have R&B 90s R&B samples. That's all I record, So my last EP, all songs that sample 90s R&B songs, because that era emanates, from me. That era is a major part of who I am, a major part of everything that I am. And um, it's funny too, because last month was the 3-year anniversary of my book, Where's My Bay, as well. And that song is oh that book, however, I put a lot of 90s R&B samples in there. You know what I mean? My Spotify podcast I called "Are You That Somebody?" That's on Spotify as well. So it permeates through everything that I do. Um, Even the game. Are you my game? Where's my bay.com? I have my dating game up there that I created last year, and that's called "Are You That Somebody?" as well, and that has 90s R&B titles for all of the different cards. And when you're dating, the titles and everything that it's infused in everything that I do. And that's for a particular reason, because it's something I could talk about all day. It has such integrated parts, and it's so central to me, that I for a lot of times I don't even have words to describe it. Like it's something that's just a beautiful thing to have. And I'm thankful that I do have it to this day. I can still access it to this day, and all of those songs are still present to be consumed by people like us. So um, thank you guys again for listening, for tuning in. Let me shout out who came through. I see Dawn in the building. What's going on? I see Latasia. What's up? I see Wilmer Black. What's going on? Appreciate y'all, man. And so, definitely click the link in the description. And also follow me on Instagram at Happiness Decoded 101. If you want to be able to check out the single, check out my last EP, and definitely check out the online store. It's available through the link in the description if you want to just check out anything that I have created over time. It's definitely been a great journey, and 90s R&B has helped to keep me in the mood space to stay as consistent as I can. I do a lot to 90s R&B, working, you know, reminiscing, thinking, time traveling, existing, walking around, working out sometimes as well. So um, it's definitely the battery in my back in a lot of ways. So just sending appreciation to the culture, man, to the music. But you guys have an amazing weekend, and I will see y'all and check in with you guys tomorrow night.